Hello and welcome to this video on the Tableau Certified Data Analyst exam. In this video, we're going to be talking about writing string functions. That's one of the topics on the exam. In particular, we're going to talk about the following topics. So there are case conversion functions, so going from uppercase to lowercase, from lowercase to uppercase, or proper, which is where the first letter is capitalized and then the rest is lowercase. Then we have trimming and padding, which is to either remove or add space from text, either the space at the beginning of the text or at the end. And then we have substring, so taking parts of a string, the left part, the right part, the middle, or splitting a string based on a delimiter. Then we have search and replace functions. And I've also included contains, which is going to give you a true or false depending on whether the string contains that, as sort of similar to find and replace, so I put them in the same group. Then we have ASCII functions, which convert either from a character to an ASCII number or from an ASCII number to its ASCII character. And then we have the function length. Now, pro tip, please speed up or slow down the video as needed. Now, I'm going to just show you the documentation, and I'll be placing a link to this documentation. And so this explains in detail all of the different syntax. And so you can also find the syntax within Tableau, but this is a web page, and I'll put a link to that under the video. And now I'm going to switch to a demo where we look at all of these particular functions. So I'm going to go back over to here, just drag this over. And now I'm ready with my Superstore data. I'm going to start a new worksheet and start using some of these functions. So starting with, I'm going to call this worksheet my case. This is where I'm going to do my case conversion functions. And I'm going to do a new calculated field, and I'll call this upper. And so I'm going to do the function upper on this is all lower. And so what this will do is it will convert this string into an uppercase string. So I started out with a lowercase string and it converted it to an uppercase string. And now I'll just create another calculated field for lower and say lower, this is all upper. So I have a string that's currently uppercase, but it's going to be converted to lowercase. And I add that in, and you see that what was an uppercase string is now converted to a lowercase string. And then we have proper. Proper, oops, proper, proper. This is my text. Add that in. And we see that the first letter of each word is now capitalized. That's proper. Now we're going to move on to looking at some of the trimming and padding functions. And so we'll start with the function trim. And so I have a string like with a bunch of extra spaces. Extra space. Like this. And I just add it. Now you don't see any additional space here. If I click Edit Alias, you can see there's no space at the end or at the beginning. But I'm going to modify this and change it to left trim. So that will only trim the characters on the left side, but leave the ones on the right side. So when I do this, and I click Alias, Edit Alias, I see that there is extra space over here. And now I'll switch it to right trim. And when I click Edit Alias, we see that there's now the spaces on the right side have been removed, but the spaces on the left side have not been removed because right trim only trims out the spaces on the right side. And then we have the function space. And I'm just going to mouse over that here. And so this says it returns a string with a specified number of spaces. So if I do like 50 or 40, then I just get, and I edit this, you see that there are just that many spaces. It just gives me a whole bunch of spaces together. I would never use this function. I don't know what the use of it would be, but that is there. So that's one. Now let's move on to substring functions. And so I'm going to start with left. And so left will remove however many characters, will take however many characters I want. So I do left, and then this is my string, and I'll just take the first 7 characters. I'm just going to remove these, kind of distraction. And you see that it gives me the first 7 characters. If I edit the alias, you can see this is 4 letters, then it's 5, 6, 7. So it gives me just this is. So that's the first one, and then I'm going to modify it and just switch it over to be right. And so now I just get the end of the string. I should probably change the name of it too. And so this just gives me the 7 characters on the right side of the string, which is just the last word. Now we're going to look at mid. Call this mid. And now I'm going to start at the 7th character and go for 5 characters. So it's going to take it from the middle. I think it's going to start here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think it's going to give me something like is my. Okay, I guess I miscounted probably, but that's what you get is SMI for that. So it's starting at the 7th character and going on. Starts at the first character in the position is 1, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so the first one is the 7th character, which is S. And then we go 4, 5. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we get a space at the end with the but I guess we just don't see that. If I click edit alias, you can see that that space is there at the end. And last, let's look at split. And so the delimiter, I'll use a space. And then I'll do this, let's do the third. So if I want the third word, it's going to be my. And so it's going to split by the space and give me the third thing that we get when we split that way. So this is the first thing, this is the second thing, and the my is the third. And so now we get the split function here, and we get that word my. If I change it to a 2, instead of a 3, I'll get is. If I change it to a 1, I'll get this. So if I just change it to a 2, so you see it switches to is. So that's split. Now let's move on to the search and replace. I'm just going to make a new tab. And so the first one to look at is find. And I'll say, this is where I'm looking for a value. And then I'll say 4, and we'll just start at 1. And so this will give me the location of the word for in this string. So I'm looking in this string for the word for. And if I describe this field, it'll show me what the value is. Since I'm hard coding the string values here, the value is 27, so it's the 27th character where this substring for starts. So that's what find tells me. And now, next one is find nth. And if I mouse over this, it returns the position of the nth occurrence of a substring within a string. So if that occurrence is in, or 0 if it's not found. So this is useful if we want to know, okay, how many times does a given string appear? So I'm just going to kind of mess this up, and it doesn't really make grammatical sense anymore, but if I want the second occurrence of the word is, I could use a 2, and it would go and find that. So I've got is in there a few times. This is the first time, this is the second time, and this is the third time. And so since I put in the number 2, it's going to find the second time that it occurs in the string. And so now if I describe the value here, click load, we see it's the 6th. So the single value is 6. So it goes 1. Oh, actually, you know what? It found the is, and then this is the second occurrence of is. So this is the first occurrence of is, this is the second occurrence of is This is the third occurrence of is. So I would need to do actually a 3 to find that, to find this one. And so now that's 31. Okay. And now let's take a look at replace. So here we've got these product names, and suppose I decided I wanted to replace highlighters. So I'm going to do replace product name with highlighters. I don't know. For example, if I wanted to replace the word highlighters, G-H-T-E-R-S, with a T for some reason. If I wanted to make that replacement, I could do that. And now I've got a new version of product name where whenever you see highlighters, it's spelled with a T instead of a G-H. So here's an example. We just look at this one. You can see that I replaced that highlighters with a different spelling. So that's how you would use replace. Now let's take a look at contains. And so I'm just going to do Control Z here, remove this, and create a new field. Contains short. So I'm just going to say true. This will return true whenever the product name contains the word short. For example, short pencils gives me a true. Maybe that's the only one. I can sort on this. Okay, it looks like it's only true for this one. So if I had done something like contains Xerox, I would get a lot more trues. But this is the only string in the only product name where the word short appears. Starts with and ends with, those are pretty similar to contains, but obviously requiring that it either starts with that string or ends with that string. So if I do contains, duplicate, starts with Xerox. All right, so I could do like this, and then this will give me true if a string starts with Xerox, which is true for all these guys down here. And then ends with, I think you get it. You could just say, for example, does it end with 231? You can do that. Create calculated field, ends with 231, ends with product name and 231. So this will give a true whenever the product name ends with 231. And so there's only one product that ends with 231, and that comes to the top, Xerox 231. So that is search and replace. Now let's take a look at ASCII. I don't know when you would need to use these. There's, I'm sure, some case, but I've never used them myself, and I'm just going to create a simple calculated field, do ASCII, and so this will take a letter and convert it to the related number. So here I have the character A, and I'm going to get the ASCII number that goes with that. And so the ASCII number, I'm summing, so that's not really, it's going to be, if I just do min or max, I'll get the actual value. So it's 97. The character A gives back a 97. And if I create another calculated field, and I do char, and I give char 97, I'll get back an A. So this char will convert a number to its ASCII character, and ASCII will convert a character to its ASCII number. So now if I describe this, I should see that it converts to an A, and that's what it does. So done. And then two more, length and concatenate. length gives me the length of a string. Length of a string, so I'll do length, product name, like this. And now I do product name, length of a string. It's doing a sum, so if there are multiple values of the same product name in the data, you'd get it summed up. So I don't want to do that. I'll just use the minimum value. It really should always be the same. So this is saying that this is a 50 character long string here. This is an 88 character long string. And so we can see what's the product with the longest name by just sorting on this column. So this is the longest named item in the data set right here, very long name. And you can see that the names get shorter as the values get lower. That's all I have for string functions for now. I do want to mention that there are some more complex string functions I'm not going to cover with regular expressions. So regular expressions is a more complex topic, and I don't think we need to look at that on the exam. But just so you can see that those are there, if I go under the section string here, you see that there are these regex options. So those are more complex functions. There's also min max, which is going to give me the minimum or maximum value. Those are pretty easy to understand, so I'm not going to cover them. They do the same thing for dates as for strings, as for numbers. They give you either the minimum value or the maximum value. And with strings, that's going to be like an alphabetical. So that's all I have to cover on strings. So now I'd just like to close it off with a quote from Tufte. He says, "Graphical excellence is that which gives to the viewer the greatest number of ideas in the shortest time with the least ink in the smallest space."